Howdy, my name's Anachi Sasuke, and welcome back to Let's Read the SP Foundation Wiki. In the last episode, we read about the propaganda machine, the phobia induction corridor, box full of questions, inner sanctum, and stomach bug. And I gotta say, the first few didn't really seem that bad, and then it went completely off the rails for the last two. So let's see how it goes for this episode, where we'll be reading about the Pixel, the Mobius Cave, the Sentient Whirlwind, Comforting Centipedes, and Fancy Talking Soup. I figure this episode is going to be either wildly whimsical or completely horrifying. So, the Pixel. The Pixel is Keter. Okay, starting strong. Alright, cool. SCP-1350 is contained in Area 52 somewhere. Any unauthorized individuals approaching within 50 kilometers of the containment area are to be terminated on sight to prevent potential Delta events. Colonies of Sphenicidae and other creatures are to be monitored and guided to prevent them approaching the containment zone. Maintenance inspections of containment tracks Alpha and Beta and individual rotating platforms are to be conducted twice daily. And the picture says the aerial view of primary dome and the nearest D-class domes taken on November the 2nd, 1963. Personnel on site not involved directly in maintenance operations are to remain inside the primary dome at all times. Observation of 1350 is restricted to cameras and motion sensors. At no time are personnel to directly observe 1350, except in the case of a Delta outbreak event for the purposes of prolonging containment. Number of personnel in the primary dome should be limited to 5 researchers and 2 disposable dudes at any time if possible. 12 geodesic domes are positioned in a circle with a diameter of 300 meters, each dome connected by a dual underground track to the primary dome. Each dome is to contain one D-class treated with compound iota and strapped onto a rotating platform designed to prevent movement of the head more than 10 degrees in any direction. What is that? A combination stimulant, thought suppressant, and attention enhancer designed to ensure the disposable dudes currently targeted will immediately focus upon 1350. The interior of each dome is to be completely darkened when in use. All disposable dudes must be kept turned 180 degrees from the current position of 1350, except for the 3 disposable dudes determined to be the furthest away from it when it crosses the current threshold C, defined as a 30-foot radius around the currently targeted D-class dome. The object's current target must be identified and kept focused on this object until it crosses their threshold C. Light and motion sensors are to determine the position of 1350 at any given moment and adjust the orientations of disposable dudes accordingly. In rotation, 1 disposable dude is to be changed out each hour, examined for continued suitability for containment, and replaced as needed. If an unscheduled Delta event occurs, the 2 nearest disposables are to be focused on the object, immediately lowered from their domes onto Containment Track Beta, and moved to Containment Track Alpha. They are to continue moving there, altering speed as needed to remain a constant distance away from 1350 until it has returned to its original luminescence. Once per month, a Delta event is to be permitted in order to prevent a Kappa event. If the object breaches the primary dome, all current occupants are to be terminated by a fast-acting neurotoxin to limit potential Delta events. Recontainment will be handled by the secondary dome located 20 kilometers to the north. Resupply of disposable dudes to the primary containment site and recontainment on Containment Track Alpha must be achieved as rapidly as possible. A secondary set of domes spaced in a 12-kilometer diameter circle is to be put into use should more than 10 Delta events take place within a 15-day time period. Should the secondary dome be compromised, the object must be led via Containment Track Gamma to Launch Site 52A and Procedure Gamma 12 implemented to give time to reestablish containment facilities. Path of the object through the solar system must be monitored to identify the object's future point of re-entry. Okay. Description: SCP-1350 is a floating mobile point of light of unknown origins. The light emanating from it is not reflected by any known material, but can be perceived by biological organisms or mechanical photosensitive equipment. 1350 and its light pass uninhibited through all known materials regardless of consistency or opacity. 1350 will target and slowly accelerate towards any living creature massing more than 2,488 grams. The object has variable acceleration, but it has not been observed to accelerate faster than 0.05 meters per second squared. Target acquisition is determined primarily by maintenance of direct observation of the object by a living organism, secondly by proximity of the target, and thirdly by the target's mass. It will cease movement and instantly change target should the situation change and make another target more favorable according to the criteria. Upon reaching a target, the object moves into the target's brain. Life signs of the target immediately cease. Regardless of the mass of the target affected, the object immediately increases in volume, base speed, and apparent luminescence by exactly 22.7%, classified as a delta event. This becomes an exponential progression as additional delta events occur. These attributes decrease linearly at a rate of approximately 1.14% per day until the object reaches the minimum apparent diameter of 0.5 centimeters, minimum base speed of 4 kilometers per hour, and a minimum apparent luminescence of approximately 25,000 whatever that is. If it remains in this state for more than 24.2 days, it will cease to be influenced by the direct observation criteria until a minimum of 3 delta events have occurred. This is classified as a kappa event. Through current containment procedures, the object is maintained at a diameter of 0.5 centimeters to a centimeter and apparent luminosity of approximately 25,000 to approximately 200,000. No upper limits to size, speed, or luminosity have yet been observed. Highest observed, second 2 centimeters diameter, 327 kilometers per hour, approximately 1.65 million CD, occurred during event 1350-27 and 1957. So we have the recovery log and event log, but first we're going to read the addendums. The object's origins are unknown, but it's highly probable that Team Blank 58 was the first group of living creatures it had encountered since its appearance. Data expunged. At this velocity, containment would be impossible. Subsequent contact with all life exceeding 2,488 grams is currently estimated to 05 players only. See document K. Investigation into the object's possible original path to its location of its discovery has thus far been fruitless. However, data expunged, observations are to be directed not to observe this phenomenon. Events 14 and 79 have proven the dangers of attempting to test the object's parameters. Further experimentation on 1350 is forbidden. It must be prevented from coming within 200 kilometers of the ocean at all costs. Okay, so recovery log. SCP-1350 was discovered on June 2, 1952 by Foundation Research Team Blank 58 en route to study SCP Blank. The object was first observed at 9:42 p.m., described in audio logs as a kind of star moving towards us. The team consisted of 8 members, 6 of whom encountered Delta events within the first 5 minutes of contact. Agent Blank and Dr. Blank, who had been setting up a communication beacon, observed this encounter from a significant distance away and retreated immediately to call for backup. They maintained evasion for 15 hours before being overtaken, providing mostly the initial intelligence about the object. Mobile Task Force Alpha 8 Icebreakers was dispatched to determine the nature of the object and to establish preliminary containment procedures. Contact with the object was established at June the 4th, 1952, resulting in the immediate loss of 2 task force members and the progressive loss of another 10 members over the course of the following 2 months. Further properties of the object were determined during this time, after which plans began to be drawn up for Containment Area 52. Object delivered with no further casualties to the containment area on September the 29th, 1952. No connection has been established between 1350 and some other SCP, and the object's original proximity to SCP Blank has been judged to be coincidental. So let's hide that and check out the event logs. Event log 27. Which is, I don't even think, the one that it warned us about. So we don't even really get to see the experiment that's why it's bad. Initial containment procedures consisted of the primary dome and 2 additional buildings, with D-Class being instructed to face the object and turn away in alternating intervals. Construction of 4 D-Class domes and Containment Track Alpha took place during this time. This was originally deemed to be sufficient for containment given a proper supply of disposable dudes. On May the 9th, 1953, this construction was completed and official containment procedures began. On February the 16th of 1959, a D-Class unexpectedly died of a heart attack during containment procedures, resulting in a Delta event. Maintenance prevented the timely movement of remaining D-Class to Containment Track Alpha, resulting in the loss of all D-Class in the containment area. 1350 then approached the primary dome, resulting in a Delta outbreak event and the loss of 14 additional personnel in D-Class. Secondary dome personnel took over and led the object on a circular route for a period of 22 days, with the loss of 4 additional personnel. Emergency personnel arrived to repair the primary site and revise containment procedures. Immediate construction began on the secondary ring of domes, and containment was transferred to them on a temporary basis. Containment Track Alpha was prepared, and the object was transferred there on June the 29th, 1959. 8 additional domes and tracks were added to the primary ring, completed on February the 11th, 1962, after which current containment procedures were initiated. Okie dokie. Next up is the Mobius Cave. Is it Keter too? Nope, the Mobius Cave is Euclid. SCP-1351 is contained on-site under the cover of a bat sanctuary with a standard perimeter fence and signs warning away unauthorized personnel. The permanent security team is to be covered as United States National Park Rangers and or civilian speleologists. Speleologists? The access road to the entrance of 1351 is to be marked authorized vehicles only to match nearby park roads which are not open to the general public. Personnel within 1351 are to follow standard subterranean safety protocols. All personnel must operate in groups of no fewer than 4, with each personnel equipped with at least 3 sources of light, one of which must not be dependent on batteries. In the event of a team member in distress, at least 1 individual must remain with the distressed individual, while at least 2 individuals must return to get help. Personnel must verbally inform at least 2 individuals, typically the Site Security Watch Officer and the on-site research supervisor, of their intended destination within 1351 and their intended return time, in addition to documenting their intentions in writing. Personnel must also carry sufficient food, water, and first aid equipment for twice their intended stay within 1351. Any individual who becomes lost or separated should remain where they are and wait to be found. The current director of the United States National Park Service and the current Mammoth Cave National Park Superintendent are to be informed of the importance of maintaining containment. Further information related to either 1351 or the Foundation is to be disseminated to these individuals only in accordance with need to know and written authorization of O5 Command. Due to the outbreak of SCP-EX, commonly referred to as the White Noise Syndrome, any persons entering 1351 must submit to biological decontamination. SCP-EX is a disease affecting numerous species of American bats, which has been confirmed in 19 American states and 4 Canadian provinces. Ongoing studies by both Foundation and non-affiliated organizations have accumulated increasing evidence that suggests it is caused by the fungus Geomyces destructans. The disease itself is not well understood by either the Foundation or non-affiliated scientists. Research continues. At present, there is no known treatment for the afflicted bats, nor is there a known containment protocol capable of preventing transmission. The mortality rate varies by species, but has been observed as being as high as 95%. It has not been confirmed to be present in 1351. The related containment procedures are intended to prevent it from entering 1351. No clothes, shoes, or personal effects which have entered other caves since 2006 are permitted to enter 1351 to prevent the spread of fungal spores believed to be associated with EX. Prior to cleaning and after exiting 1351, all persons must walk across nylon biosecurity mats saturated in a cleaning solution. For consistency, it is recommended that the biosecurity mats and the associated solution match those used by the park. Presently, Lysol, trademark, IC Quaternary Disinfectant Cleaner. This is in accordance with publicly released SCP-EX Containment Protocol designated National WNSD Containment Protocol 315-2012, which for some reason has its own page. Description: SCP-1351 is a cave located within Mammoth Cave National Park in the American state of Kentucky. The main section of the cave is approximately 30 kilometers long. No direct connections between 1351 and Mammoth Cave have yet been discovered, though the possibility remains. Like most caves in the area, 1351 appears to have been carved from Mississippian-aged limestone strata capped by sandstone. This has resulted in relatively few flowstone deposits. 1351 is anomalous for 3 reasons. First, it is accessible through a dome in the ceiling of an otherwise unremarkable section of cavern 125 meters underground, see Figure 3. But this dome's height, approximately 750 meters, will require 1351 to be well above surface level. In spite of the inconsistency, 1351 seems to be subterranean. Foundation speleologists have not yet determined a satisfactory explanation for this phenomenon. Second, the interior of the cave only has a single surface, the floor, and a single boundary component, a wall. Over the course of the cave, several kilometers in length, the floor wraps around to become the ceiling, while one wall wraps around to become the other. In this, it resembles a Mobius strip. Local gravity orients towards the nearest floor. A dark band in the wall shows the location of the boundary between the local gravitational fields. The cause of this unusual spatial warping is not understood at this time. Third, temporal anomalies have been observed in relation to 1351, though no modern Foundation personnel are known to have experienced any such effects. For more details, see Addenda 2 and 3. These show no consistent pattern. Okay, so Addendum 1, Modern History of 1351. The cavern from which 1351 is accessible opened to the surface on a landslide in 1993, uncovered a natural entrance. It was most recently discovered in 1995 by National Park Service speleologists mapping the cavern to determine if it is connected to the caves system in the park. These scientists were subsequently seconded to the Foundation after a standard background check and non-disclosure agreement. 3 expedition teams, 1, 2, and 3, surveyed the interior between 1995 and 2002, determining the cavern to be sufficiently safe for a permanent research presence. Research operations are now ongoing. Addendum 2, in 1925. Well, I don't know if it's in 1995, or 25, it just says it. On April 23, 2009, a team of 6 men and 2 women under the command of Major Mortimer S. Cornelius III emerged from 1351. They were detained by Foundation security personnel. Interviews established that they were a team of explorers dispatched by the Foundation in August 1925 and had only spent 18 hours within the cave from their perspective. Their clothing and equipment was accurate for the time period, and they possessed apparently bona fide documents supporting their assertions. However, as there is no record of any of the members of the expedition nor of the expedition itself, and since 1351 was not known to have been discovered until 1995, they are being detained indefinitely. For further information, contact Supervisory Special Agent Thomas at Site 19. Addendum 3. Discovery of Expedition 1351-2030's remains. On June 10, 2011, Foundation researchers discovered the remains of 4 adult humans in a pit in Section 7A of 1351. These remains had been mummified and preserved by the calcium nitrate present in the cavern. Carbon dating indicated that the remains had been in excess of 7,000 years old. One of the bodies had 2 broken legs, while another had a broken left arm. There was no obvious cause of death for any of the subjects. Subject 1, male, 198 centimeters tall, black hair, facial bone structure suggests Caucasian ancestry. Antemortem compound fractures in both left and right tibiae. Foundation issued dog tags identify as Dr. Nicholas Tusk, serial number redacted. Subject 2, male, 186 centimeters tall, red hair, facial bone structure suggests Caucasian ancestry, antemortem simple fracture in the left ulna. Foundation issued dog tags identify as Dr. Lionel Dunbar, serial number redacted. Female, 160 centimeters tall, not meters. Ooh. Black hair, facial bone structure suggests Japanese ancestry. No apparent injuries. Foundation issued dog tags identifies Dr. Asuka Miyamoto, serial number redacted. Subject 4, female, estimated approximately 164 centimeters tall, head absent, incision located above C4 vertebrae and occurred post-mortem. No identification located in vicinity of the body. The bodies were clothed in uniform synthetic spelunking coveralls and equipped with gear estimated to be roughly equivalent to the level of technology expected to exist by the mid-2030s. Among the gear was a damaged recorder with predictably dead batteries. Efforts to power the camcorder and recover the information documented in it have data expunged. So they probably did learn something, but since these people were from the future by like 2 decades, it's not going to say what they found. Next up is a sentient whirlwind, which is also Euclid, somehow. SCP-1352's enclosure is located in an isolated valley in Nevada and is equipped with storm shelters. The entity is permitted to wander around the premises of the enclosure under supervision of at least 1 security guard. The enclosure is 5 kilometers squared, and the perimeter fencing must be rooted 10 meters into the ground to prevent dislodging. Debris must be made available within the enclosure for the entity to interact with. Personnel entering the enclosure must require authorization from the site director. Proper protective equipment must be worn by personnel within the enclosure at all times. Sorry. Should the entity attempt to leave the enclosure, guards or personnel are to use verbal commands to prevent it from breaching containment. Description: SCP-1352 is a sentient dust devil with a behavior similar to those of domesticated pet animals. Dust devil. The entity displays characteristics of major whirlwinds, but has been classified as a dust devil due to its lack of a cloud base and the intense electrical activity it generates. Anemometer readings indicate that wind speeds of at least 60 kilometers per hour, but they shift with the mood of the entity. It has a preference for interacting with humans and carries small debris with it for this purpose. After interacting with people, the funnel will shrink to 3 meters in height, and the entity will attempt to surround the person as a sign of happiness. If excited, wind speeds and funnel size rapidly shift between the 60 and 100 km per hour parameters. In an angered state, the funnel grows to proportions similar to those of F5 tornadoes. The entity will then attack with debris thrown at speeds of 300 km per hour. If 1352 is not capable of interacting with people, it will either coerce people into interaction through various methods or entertain itself. 1352 has displayed signs of intelligent behavior. It has the ability to manipulate the wind it generates to pick up and place items weighing up to 500 kilograms with precision. This also affects the funnel size. The entity has been shown to respond to verbal commands. The researchers have discovered that it understands words such as stay, go, come here, and fetch, allowing for easier containment methods. Testing of 1352 has continued, and currently the entity can perform more complex tasks such as arranging objects into specific patterns such as shapes and solving simple problems, e.g. matching objects. Addendum: debriefing with Agent Blank after capture of 1352. Interviewed Agent, Interviewer, Doctor. Please recall how you captured SCP-1352. My pleasure, but I wouldn't exactly call it capture. Anywho, after they called us in, we tracked the sucker to the coast. There we found him wandering around picking up some trash on the beaches. I'm not sure why, I guess he was bored. How did you approach it? Well, at first we surrounded him. It's only aggravated him, and he started to grow in size. The wind was really picking up, so we backed away. We weren't able to call for backup. It was causing some sort of radio interference. He just stayed at that spot, trying to suck us in. Agent Blank got sucked up and was thrown several feet away. How hurt was he? His back was broken. I couldn't go to him because the twister was right over my head. I thought I was going to die, then the wind died down and I saw the twister was getting smaller. Next thing I know, it tossed this piece of wood next to me. Okay. In what manner did you react to that situation? Drinks from a glass of water. At first, I was just lying on the ground wondering why this thing didn't kill me. The twister was moving side to side like he was waiting for something. Put my hand on the wood and it started moving faster and faster. I picked it up and he grew taller. He was getting really excited on the chunk of wood, so I threw it away from us and he wasted no time fetching it. Anyway, we went to our teammates and called for a med team. We had stopped when the twister tossed the same hunk of wood at me and was sitting there several feet away. Lead Agent Blank said to me, I think this twister wants to play fetch with you. I thought he was crazy at first since it virtually crippled Blank. He's not attacking us right now. Besides, I'd rather have him calm now than angry, he said. All the while I was sitting there waiting for me to throw the wood again. So, how did you contain it? We just played fetch until the recovery team showed up. Besides, bullets can't do shit on him, so why bother? In the end, we managed to lure it into the building container, but someone had to stay with him or else he'd get mopey and make another ruckus. We ended up drawing straws and Agent Blank drew the short one. I have to admit, that was my favorite. We still visit him now and then. And he even said sorry to Agent Blank. Thank you for your time. Addendum: communication attempt. On the morning of blankety blankety blank, field researchers discovered a large debris formation created by 1352. The pattern was too large to be seen from ground level, requiring the use of an unmanned aerial vehicle. At 300 meters, the pattern was revealed to be the word hello! Subsequently, the director has authorized further communication experiments with 1352. Friendly tornado. Okay. Comforting centipedes. They're Euclid. Okay. SCP-1353 to be kept in the same room, but stored separately in sealed plastic tubs. The tubs are to be labeled in accordance with each instance. The instances are to be handled only while wearing full-body protective gear. Protective wear. Sorry, I only got like 4.5 hours of sleep because I'm stupid. Individuals may only interact with one another for purposes of experimentation. A are to be kept in standard humanoid containment chambers. They are to be denied access to any toys, music, books, and other recreational items older than 12 calendar months, unless in controlled lab circumstances, but are to be otherwise treated as a normal human in containment. A are permitted access to psychiatric medication upon request in order to mitigate emotional response. They also must keep a daily record of their awareness of 1353 in a journal. Its record should be added to document 1 on a weekly basis. Should the A population exceed more than 5, the oldest and least healthy are to be culled and remains cremated immediately after culling. There is to be no skin contact with 1353 or A instances without permission of level 4 or higher personnel. Description: SCP-1353 is a given label to a group of animate needle-felted sculptures closely resembling members of the class Chilopoda centipedes. Instances of 1353 vary in color and size, typically bearing at least 20 pairs of legs and a pair of functional eyes. Typically, adults can range from 30 to 50 centimeters in length and are on average 2 centimeters in width. SCP-1353 is capable of breeding, but only adult instances are able to create A. Specimens have typically been found in urban environments, with exceptions as a result of interaction with trucks and other human transportation. 1353 displays nocturnal behavior and will actively seek out sleeping humans to turn into A via dermal exposure. Once contact is made, a specimen will use its forcipules to create an incision and enter the human. These forcipules generate a venom that works as a local anesthetic, and thus the incisions will usually go unnoticed until the specimen has thoroughly embedded itself under the skin. Ugh. Once embedded, the specimen will continue to move underneath the skin, but will not cause tissue damage. It's hypothesized that 1353 is able to create a minor spatial anomaly to achieve this effect. Approximately 1 week after embedding, 1353 will no longer be seen under the skin, and is assumed to enter a dormant state inside of the host's abdominal cavity. Humans hosting a 1353 instance are collectively referred to as SCP-1353-A. A report being aware of hosting the instances but do not usually report pain apart from injuries caused by initial entry. Hosts continue to function as normal human beings, with the only exception being when presented with any stimulation that invokes feelings of nostalgia. If A experienced nostalgia of any kind, the hosted 1353 instance will reactivate and continue its movements at random inside the body. This reactivation time has been reported to last at least 15 minutes and at most 5 hours. A are acutely aware of the presence and movement of the hosted 1353. They will express moderate to extreme discomfort at the reactivation. A are known to react violently to nostalgia as a result of this, but may eventually adapt to deprive themselves of the emotion. Addendum April 25th, 2000-something. An outbreak of A was reported to the Foundation personnel in the city of Austin, Texas, United States of America. Investigation into the outbreak uncovered the source of a population of 1353, currently theorized to have been purposely planted. A single metal box was found as the source of the assumed planted population, containing the following note: inquiry into potential suspects are currently ongoing. Congratulations! You found my box, friend! I'm giving this to the city lots of friends to mend. These furry friends that I've made love you, though they hide, and they will gladly hug you from the inside. 108801. And it looks like, with the capital letters, that the note within the note is "Love Us." This is LOVEUS. Addendum 1353-A19. The following is a personal log from A19, a 47-year-old female of African American descent. 19 reports to have been a host to 1353 instances for the past blank years, despite having only been under Foundation custody for the past blank. I used to try and tough out the feeling. I thought that I could get used to it. It's like a cat in your lap with his claws dug in until there are little pricks all in your stomach and legs, and then it climbs in and you feel its fur rubbing against the wrong side of your skin. Every leg taps to get alongside each other, and you can feel every thread as it pushes itself a little tunnel inside you. Why did this happen to me? I just woke up thinking about some man with kind eyes I saw down the street the day before. how he touched my arm and said he was sorry before walking off. Same place that morning I felt it on me. I could see the little bumps of its segments as bulges in my skin as it pushed itself up my shoulder and watched it climb down my back in the mirror. It went into my belly and then made itself at home in me. And now, every time I'm reminded, it reminds me that it's still there. I can feel its little felty legs. Sometimes it crawls upside down inside me, so I feel the legs instead of the fur on the wrong side of my skin. Most of the time, though, whenever I'm reminded, I can feel it rubbing and crawling along my intestines. Every thread, antennae, even the little bulge of its eyeballs. Today I felt it crawl up inside my neck, back along against my trachea, and legs against the artery. It shimmied up the back of my neck and started shuffling around against my skull. The skin was really stretched up there, and I figured it might have gotten stuck once or twice. Really, though, the worst part was that I could kind of hear it when it circled around near one of my temples. It sounded like really quiet brushing or switching against the bone as it crept along. I think its fangs scraped a little too. You never get used to it, you just learn to avoid what makes it go. And that brings us to the fancy talking soup, which is the only thing in this episode that ended up being safe. So, all instances of SCP-1354 are to be contained in food-grade airtight plastic containers at Sector 28. Each instance is to undergo psychiatric evaluation at least once per year. What? Okay. Description. SCP-1354 is the collective designation for 11 250ml volumes of soup stock designated 1 through 11. Used to say 12, I guess somebody drank one. Despite their age, instances of 1354 show no signs of spoilage and have proven edible. Additionally, instances of 1354 are exothermic, maintain a constant temperature of 37 degrees Celsius, and have shown no signs of evaporation. Alexa, how much is 37 degrees Celsius in Fahrenheit? Guess I'm not going to get an answer. And have been shown no signs of evaporation, so I guess it's hot then. Instances of 1354 are capable of written responses to verbal communication via the manifestation of letter-shaped pasta. Unless otherwise prompted, responses will remain on the surface of 1354 for 3 to 4 minutes before submerging and vanishing. For interview purposes, instances of 1354 are to remain intact defined as maintaining a volume greater than 45 milliliters. While removal of less than 5 milliliters has no effect on SCP-1354 and will regenerate within 24 hours, the removal of larger volumes appears to cause confusion, psychosis, and incoherent responses in the instances. Attempts at diluting 1354 above 250 milliliters with additional fluids result in 1354 absorbing the additional fluid and maintaining a constant volume. Each instance of 1354 appears to contain the consciousnesses from one of several dozen individuals reported missing from blank Oregon between the dates of April the 7th, 19-something and February the 16th, 2000-something. All missing individuals corresponding to instances of 1354 share several characteristics, most notably age between 30 and 35, and status as the head of a single-parent household. See Interview Log 1354-1. The whereabouts of children of 1354 instances, as well as an additional blank missing persons believed to correspond to uncontained instances, remain unknown. SCP-1354 was brought to Foundation attention after persistent numbers of talking soup began circulating in local homeless shelters and soup kitchens. Further investigations led to the procurement of this instance, as well as a further 11 instances of 1354 obtained during a recent canned food drive. Class B amnestics were administered to all witnesses. SCP-1354-1, can you hear me? Yes! Who are you? My name is Dr. F. I'd like to ask you some questions about your current state, if that's alright. My current state? Yes, do you recall the events that occurred on April the 15th, 2000-something? Note the date of one's disappearance. Normal day? New guy in the soup kitchen? Creepy? What was wrong with him? Talked to food! Sang to it, listened to it, complained it was illiterate, told him it was food, just eat it and be happy. What happened afterwards? Said I was rude! Said he hoped my little girl would grow up with manners. Scared me. Why did that scare you? No one there knows I have a daughter. Interesting. Did anything else happen that day? No. Went home, went to sleep, woke up, that everything was like this. Like what? Wet, dark, still. Thank you, that will be all. Wait, is my girl okay? Your daughter's whereabouts are currently unknown. She went missing the same day as you. Letters begin to appear on the surface quickly enough for one to boil. Missing! It was him! He took my daughter! Do something, please! You have to do something! You have to! This interview is over. Researcher note. 8 other instances of 1354 have described encountering a similar entity in or around blank Oregon immediately prior to their disappearance. This entity has tentatively been designated A, with descriptions forwarded to Foundation personnel embedded in the blank police department. Well, dang. The only one that was safe, and it was one of the most messed up ones. It was not as messed up as comforting centipedes, but it was up there. So, that's going to do it for this episode of Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. The next episode, we'll be checking out the House of Harmonious Boxes, Rubber Ducky, the Children's Park, the Northern Lights, and Indulgence in Flesh. So the episode sounds like it's going to start off okay and then end super uncomfortable. But if this episode was any indication, I might have that completely backwards. So if you liked it, a like and a subscribe will be groovy. If you didn't, you don't need to do either one of those things. If you want to click the bell, you can do that as well so that you're notified of future uploads. And I will see y'all in the next one. Later.